going on, guys? Welcome back to my series where we're making a game similar to the game The Binding of Isaac. In this video, I'm going to show you how I made this boss fight. So basically, he's like a red dude and he drops meteors right now. This model that I have is from 2 years ago, so you can see some of the geometry is really bad. Like he was retopologized incorrectly using some video I found on YouTube, and I did a terrible job. We're probably going to fix him. We're not going to do that in this video because boss fight takes actually like a long time to make. Like it's not like yesterday I probably spent like 5 hours making this, so condensing it into one video and then editing it and all the other stuff is a lot. It takes a long time to do it, and there's a lot of things we still have to add to the boss room too. Like right now, the other boss fight, when you win the game, the portal to the next level doesn't really work at all. And also there's no like item or anything like that when you win right now, so I want to introduce an altar or some type of like item pedestal, so if you kill the boss you can get an item for killing him, and it makes it more entertaining when like there's like a reward for beating the boss and like you have like something to look forward to at the end of the boss fight. And then we also already made like an angel and a devil room, and we're probably going to be putting those things into the boss fight. So we made them as like a circle that's on the ground, and what we can do is if you meet the criteria for getting the devil room and you hit the certain % chance, we could draw that circle on the ground anywhere, and if you walk on it, because of the way the code works, it will just immediately start working. And he's right on top of my character. We also need to do like a death screen at some point, so like right now when you die you're just in pieces on the ground and the game doesn't really stop, so it should fade out to like black, and then like in the Binding of Isaac you get like a screen showing like your results and like your score and what items you had and stuff like that. And we probably need to add something like that at some point. Again, we can't put that in this video. This video is already going to be pretty long, but yes, we're going to get into it. All right, so here we are in Blender, and we're going to be doing something very similar to when we made that giant rock head like 4 videos ago. We created a sculpting brush to make rocks, which it's automatically still there from that last video. So you don't have to, if you followed the last 4 videos ago, we did like a giant rock head. If you followed that video, we created this rock brush, and this makes making an island like this super duper easy. So let's just go through the process. So let's delete all the stuff that's here. Press Shift A and add a mesh, and it's going to be a UV sphere. We'll press Tab to go into edit mode, S and Z to scale it down, and then we're just going to do S and Shift Z so that we can scale it on everything except for like the up-down axis. And we're going to make our island a little bit flatter this time, a little bit wider this time. So in my preview or in the game that we already have, this is kind of oval, and we don't want an oval. Why is it so laggy? Anyway, we don't want an oval. What we want is more of like something a little bit wider, so there's more room to run around. I've only added 1 attack to the boss so far, but he has multiple animations from previous, and I'm probably going to be adding more attacks. And right now, with the way that it's set up, you can't dodge the attacks. And so as soon as I add colliders to these lava pits or whatever, you shouldn't be able to walk into the lava pits, or I'm going to make it so that it damages your player if you walk into them. I'm going to be adding more attacks, so I want this to be a little bit wider, so we're going to be doing that in this video. It's not going to be the same as the one that I have. So let's take this bottom vertice and turn on proportional editing, and we'll press G and Z, and if you scroll backwards on your mouse wheel, you can move everything at once, and we just want to move that down, and then at the top here we'll just do G and Z, and we're moving everything. We don't want that. Okay, so turn off proportional editing and then do select more. And one more time, GZ. Ooh, that's kind of cool. And we'll do this, and we'll just scale it. So I pressed Control R to do a loop cut, and then we scaled this, and you can press Control B to bevel this. Scroll up on your mouse so that you get kind of like a ridge at the edge of the island. And then we just want this top part to go slightly upwards. So maybe flat. And then as soon as you have something like this, if you go to the sculpting tab, you can click remesh, and I'm going to do 0.5. Your computer might struggle with this, so if your computer has a meltdown, you can always just do like the higher the number, the less vertices get generated. So when you do remesh, it will recalculate the mesh without factoring in the center point. So before we had a point in the middle, and all the geometry was going like it was a sphere, it wasn't a rectangle kind of deal. So this turns it into quads as best it can and it has geometry that you can sculpt on easily. If you subdivide this or use a subdivision surface, it will just add geometry in between, but remesh takes the mesh and it creates a whole new mesh for it, trying its best to put it into quads. So the thing that we made in the previous video, this rock brush, if you didn't follow, let me just quickly do this. So if you didn't follow the previous video, you can create your own set of brushes that you can reuse in every Blender file ever for the end of time. You should do this because it's really beneficial to just open this up and have a rock brush or some other brush. Making a dungeon game, so having a rock brush is like super cool, super easy. So if you click on any of the brushes that already exist, just pick one that you want it to be similar to that one. We're going to create a copy of it. So if you click this, you press duplicate asset. And then when you're doing that, you can select your own library here. If you don't have your own library, if you go to edit preferences and you click file paths, you can add a library here with the plus button. After you've added a library, you can type in the name, click on the library. And then you want, for this one, it's under brushes, which is the main one. But if you type in your own brush or your own thing here and you press enter, it will automatically create a folder at the bottom. And then to do the sculpting brush, all you have to do is in the texture slot, you'll pick the picture that you're using. I'll put this one in the description of the video for free. It's also in the previous video where we did this. And so you select the picture. If you look at the picture, it's black and white. The parts that are completely white will be moved up 1 in value, and the parts that are gray will be moved up 0.5 in value, and the parts that are black will not be affected in value. It's a range between white and black, and that's how it's working. And we're also changing the stroke. So if you go down under stroke, we're using anchored, which means that you select a point and you drag, and it puts the texture only one time. The default for all of the other things is space, which repeats the texture that you're drawing over and over and over again every 10% spacing, whatever that means. So let's just change this back to anchored. And so this is way too strong. You could see that. I mean, you could leave it like this and your character will just walk over top of it. It'll be a hill. But what you should do is just turn down the strength to like 2.4, and then boom, automatically this is a rock. Now, before you do that, let's go to the drawing brush. Wherever it is, drawing, the default brush. Where is it? That's clay. It's this one. Okay. Geez, I'm blind. And let's just go around the edges and hold the shift button. And we're just going to get rid of anything that has like lines in it. It preserved the lines while it was retopologizing, and we don't want to preserve these lines. So while holding shift, you're actually getting the smooth brush. And we just want to smooth out these edges. And then after we're done smoothing them, we're going to actually draw on them. So let's just take the smooth brush and go over everything so it's all perfectly flat. And you want to do this before you do the rock thing as well, because you don't want these hard lines or any of these lines to be inside of this. And it's happening in the middle as well. So just make sure you smooth out the entire thing and get rid of the lines. So these ones at the bottom don't really matter as much, because you can't see the bottom of the island. It's a top-down game. So I'm going to do them anyway, but you really don't have to do them if you don't want to. And so on the edges, you can see that there's still pretty much little sections where it was cut out initially. So we're going to zoom out just a little bit, and we're going to make the edges, just paint on the edges with the draw brush. This will give like a crust to the edge of the island, and it adds quite a bit to how it's looking. So just go around the entire edge of the island, and this will make it a little bit larger as well. So that's fine. And so that just kind of gives like the crust look to it. And then we do want to get rid of this kind of edge thing if we can. So hopefully the rock brush will do that. Let's see. Okay, and probably before you add the rock brush, we want to dig some lava pits as well. So let's go back to the draw brush. And if you hold control on your keyboard, it will actually go downwards. So let's just make some quick little lava areas that are going to have lava in them on the island. And you don't really have to do too much for this. So Some of them can be a little bit deeper, and the water texture that we're using is actually affected by depth. So if you do deeper and more shallow, it actually affects it. So you can see the bottom in this one, and you can't see the bottom in this one. And there's different colors for the different depths, I guess. So maybe we'll do. No, we don't. We want to be able to walk to the bottom of the island. Nah. This kind of looks like a smiley face. Maybe that's enough. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, just anyway, it doesn't matter. So just make some holes wherever you want the lava to be. And that's pretty much all I did to make this island. And that's how we're going to make a lot of different stuff in the game. So get used to kind of this way of like doing this. This is a super quick way of making a little island. And it's already textured. If your computer is really bad, what you can do is instead of doing this, you could make a very low detailed version of this without using the rock texture. Like if you use the retopo option and you do like 1 or 2 or something like that. Sorry, not retopo, remesh. So when you click remesh, by going to 0.5, 0.05, that's very, very small, and it makes it have a lot of geometry. So if your computer's lagging, you could pick a way higher number, and then you could flatten out all of this, and then you could use a texture with a normal map to simulate it having this. I like having the actual geometry with it, but if your computer can't handle that, then you could always use a texture brush or something like that to accomplish the same thing, and then apply a normal map, which normal changes how the lightings affects how it appears in the scene. So you could probably get something that looks exactly identical to this with way lower poly count by using a normal map instead. But again, we're not going to be doing that. So let's just go and decimate this now. So this is probably like, oh, it's right there. So it has 520,000 faces. That's too many. So let's just put this down to maybe 0.2 and see how it looks. And to be real, that's actually not too many. 520,000 faces is actually not really that much. So you can kind of see the difference when you do this. It does really take away the detail just slightly. And you don't want to go too low, because if you zoom in, you start seeing all these triangles, and you don't want to see triangles when you're looking down at it. But from a bit of a distance, you can't see the triangles. So I think this is perfect. You still have 191,000 faces, but it's on modern computers, that's not really a big deal. So we're going to leave it like that. And then the last thing we want to do is just add a material here. And we'll turn up the metallic to full, and then we're just going to go into rendered view and go and add a sun to this. Press G and Z, G and X. And then we'll just drag the sun so it has like an angle to it. And then this is kind of looking like tinfoil. So let's go into like kind of like brown territory, but dark. And then the roughness can get turned down because, the roughness should be turned up because it's rock. It's not metal, but we're using metal to make it look more rocky. And then this is too brown still, so we'll use something a little bit darker. And yeah, like that. I think that'll look perfect with like the lava in these two holes. And then maybe we should have one more little divot inside of this where there's like a very small lava pocket that you can't walk on. So let's do that. So press 7 on your keyboard to get like a top-down view. And we're just going to put that like right here. We want this to go pretty deep. Just like that. That's kind of cool. So there'll just be like a lava pocket to add a little bit more to this. And let's just check the face count again. So if you turn on statistics at the top here, 200,000 triangles is fine. Like in modern computers, that's fine. So this is looking good for the island. And this will give the player more room to walk around. So then let's get rid of the light. And we'll click on the island and we'll go File, Export, FBX. And then from here, I'm just going to put it in my documents. You can put whatever you want to, just call it island or whatever, it doesn't matter. And then FBX unit scale. And then you don't need to export the animation, it doesn't matter. And then just press export. Okay, so back in Unity, I've just dragged that FBX file into the game. I'm just going to disable the one that I have, and I'll drag the island into the area on the left here. And you can see that the island starts really small. So let's lock the scale on the right here and we'll just make it bigger. And we'll just, okay, so we're gonna need to make a material to make this look better. We could also rotate this on the y-axis because we want that hole to be at the bottom-ish, somewhere like that, because he's gonna start up here. So because he needs to be like in the main focus when the boss fight starts. So you can see like this material, it doesn't look the same as in Blender and it never does. So let's create a new material and we'll call this test boss island material or whatever you want to. I'm not going to be using these materials. I'm going to be using the one that I already made. So let's make this a dark brown, turn up the metallic to full, turn the smoothness way down. We still want to see some of the crevices and we want this to be more blacker. It's supposed to be like a volcano island, right? So I don't know. Okay, so after you have the material that you want for this, we need to unpack this. So go prefab, unpack, and then we want to right click and we can add a cube. And this cube is going to be one of the lava things. So let's take it and we're going to delete the box collider. We don't need a box collider on this cube. And let's put it in this lava thing, this hole on the right here. And we just want to make it take up the entire spot, but just barely. So we need to scale it. So X and Y. And the Z also matters too. So just make sure that it goes right to the bottom. So scale it like that. And then we want to rotate this on the Y, not on the Y, on the X maybe? What the heck? Z. Okay, rotate it on the Z axis. And you don't want to be able to see it. So like it hanging off the edge, but it does need to have a depth to it. So let's see how far left we can do this. Okay, so this is perfect. And then we can take one of the lava materials and we can put it on this. The other thing we can do is we could take this cube and duplicate the cube and move it down. And this is going to be the, oh, what the heck? Press Control D to duplicate the cube. And this one's going to be the under lava. And then we'll just lock, actually just make the shape back into a cube one by one by one, and then lock it. And then we'll make it bigger like this. But we also want the Z to just be like 4. Like it doesn't need to be, oh, we locked it. Okay, so let's change this to 500 or 100 by 100. And that'll be perfect. This will be the lava, like the under lava. And so now we need to drag the lava materials on. Now the lava material is something that we made in a previous video. It was the water, but there's also lots of videos online on how to make water. And so I'm going to show you, this is something we already made, but I'm going to show you some things that we changed. So let's put mesh collider. Wait, this cube is lava. Hang on. The island needs a mesh collider. And make sure that if you put this on the island, make sure that the mesh has the sphere in here. That's what we started with. You can make it convex if you want to. If you don't, it will more accurately, like if your computer sucks, make it convex. But if it doesn't, then don't bother. And I think we're good to go to drop into this. So let's see. Let's drop in. Because in the actual game itself, it looks different than when, oh shit. Oh, I disabled the island. Okay. So let's turn off the start room. So in the actual game, oh no. Glider. So in the actual game itself, like I was saying, this the lava looks different than it does in the scene view. So when you look in the scene view, the lava kind of looks like crap, and it's just because the way that the post-processing works and stuff like that. But in the actual game, it looks completely different, and it looks really, really good. So this is looking pretty good. So then we need to do the same thing for the other two. So let's pause out of this, and we're just going to turn the island back on. And then we'll take this cube and we'll duplicate it and we'll just move it over here as the next one. And then we just need to resize this so that it fits in the hole properly. So let's go here and just do this. And I think that looks good. And then we want to rotate it so that you can't see it. So like that maybe. And then crush this a little bit. And we can take this and move it over until the very edge. Until, yeah, so because we don't get the bottom view of the island ever, so we're just going to fill it like that. And then we just need one more for this hole here. So let's just duplicate this again, and we can make this actually 5 by 5, and the z-axis can stay the same. So the cube will just take up this spot. And so for this one, you can actually see the bottom. So the z needs to actually be taller on this one. So let's do that. And then we push this down. Okay, so this is looking a little bit better. We got the mesh collider and we've got the island. It's floating. There's lava underneath. Let's press play again. And we're just going to disable this start room. And yeah, this is looking pretty good. I like this a little bit better than the one that I already had. It just looks cleaner. The one that I have is kind of like too much. It's very shiny, and you can see some of the triangles in the mesh. So I'll show you the difference. Hang on. Oh, the boss is there. Okay, crap. So disable the boss first, and then turn on the island, and then we'll turn off this island. So, okay, and the reason this is happening is because I moved the island down or whatever at the beginning to show it in the preview, but it needs to be a little bit higher so that it doesn't fall through. So then we need to add the demon boss into the scene. So I'm just going to copy it out of the other scene and then paste it as a child in here so that it's on. And then we just need to move it above the ground and set the rotation to 90 like this. All right, so I've dragged the boss into the scene, and generally you would, for a learning lesson or something like that, it would probably be better to create him from scratch, but I don't want this video to be too long. And we just did an enemy video in like a couple of videos ago where we did the entire enemy from scratch. So I don't think it's necessary to start completely over. So all of your enemies need similar components to make them work. So you have the outline script, which causes like the black lines around him that makes him look cartoony. That's something that you can download from the Unity asset store, and it's something we covered in one of the previous videos. The rigid body, I've set the mass to be extremely massive because this character kind of floats above the ground a little bit. And so the mass and the drag and the angular drag makes it so when you hit the player with your attack, he doesn't go flying backwards. He barely moves at all because you're going to have to hit him 100 times or whatever to kill him. So it makes sense to not make him go very fast. He can't rotate on the X or the Z axis, so he won't be able to like fall over or whatever. And he's frozen on the y-axis because he might go off the edge. And this cube that we put underneath this is actually a trigger, not a box collider. And we don't want him to, like, let's say he goes off the edge just a little bit right here and he goes down, he won't be able to get back up. So he's frozen on the y-axis for obvious reasons. And he's like a floating creature. So that makes sense. We've got a box collider around him. It's just like you could just put a box collider and just make sure that it's high enough off the ground where you can actually hit the player with like your spell or whatever. The animator is something, again, we covered this in the last video where we just did an enemy video, and it's the same thing where you just have to attach an animator to the character. So right now when the scene starts, there's the demon intro where your enemy expands and then shrinks, and that's kind of like his intro into the scene. And so like, for example, for the birdie train boss thing, he kind of flies up in the middle of the room and then he kind of tilts backwards. Well, this one, he just becomes larger and then shrinks back to his initial size. So I'll show you what that looks like. Hang on. So this is the demon intro. Let's just click play on it. You got to click the demon. And so when this is done, he'll stop because this is not repeating. So it'll stop like this. And there's going to be like that blurry effect, like all the pixelation that happens over top of the screen while this is happening. So even though like right now when you're doing this, it kind of looks like crap. Oops. when you're doing this now, it looks like crap, but when it's pixelated and there's like all the pixels and stuff around it, this will prevent it from looking bad. And I might also make him like flash like a glowy orange color and then turn red after that, like change into his material after that. We just created standard materials for him. So like the demon material is just a regular material. There's no shade or anything like that. I turned the metallic map up to 1. I turned down the smoothness. Turning down the smoothness kind of gets rid of some of the pinching because this model is not good. You can see that it's like, we need to retopologize this, and maybe that'll be the next video. I'll show you how to like retopple a model so that it is into rectangles and isn't pinching, because this is the model is set up incorrectly, and that's why you can see that. His crown is just like a white material with like a red emission attached to it. To create a meteor for this, if you go into Blender and you open up a new thing, if you press Shift A, you can go to the mesh and click Extras Rock Generator. So that's what a meteor is. It's a rock. And so in the little generator thing at the bottom, you can turn off random seed and just toggle through these until you find one that looks the way that you want your meteor to look. You don't have to do more than one because the special effect that's around it is more like it covers up pretty much the entire rock. So you're not really able to see it. So something like this would be perfect. And then you could export it the same way that you exported the island and put it into your game. And then on top of this, we have the same visual effect that we're using for our bug enemy from the other video. I purposely made it the same so that way we don't have to do a second video where I show you how to make something so similar. But so the meteor fire, which is around the meteor, is exact same as the bug one, except for it's got the color hue of 253, which makes it extremely like orange looking. And then the meteor explosion is just a burst of particles, the exact same as when your bug dies, he explodes into particles. Well, this is the same thing. And again, the color hue is just at the 253, and that's pretty cool. And so the meteor has a script attached to it. So I'll show you the script. So inside of the script, we're passing in the meteor explosion. And then when it collides with anything, or if it enters a trigger, then it will cause the explosion to happen. Now, because the ground is a trigger, like the lava that's underneath the island is a trigger, it's not a box collider, we still want this to blow up when it hits the lava so that the meteors don't just carry on forever into the bottom of the universe or whatever, right? We want it to explode when it hits the lava too. So, and we can't have the lava be a collider because if your character falls off the edge, he needs to be able to hit the lava and then teleport above the map and then pixelate back into the game and then take a damage or whatever. So that's why we have 2 of these. And so we're destroying this meteor explosion after 2 seconds that it creates. So it's just creating a meteor explosion wherever it hits something, and then it's causing an overlap sphere where it hit for a radius of 10. If your player is in that 10 radius, like the circle radius is, sorry, it's not a circle, it's a sphere. If your character's in there, it will add an impact on him. So it will push him backwards the same way that all the other enemy scripts do, and it does 1 damage. And then it waits 0.1 of a second to actually destroy this meteor object. So it will hit the ground and bounce off just very, very slightly, and then it will be destroyed. And then this is the demon boss script. So demon boss script inherits from enemy. So this is the literal exact same thing that we did in the last video where we were taking care of a slime enemy or whatever. So we've got the animator, we've got the meteor. We're inheriting from enemy, so that it contains where if you hit the enemy, he takes damage, and he like flashes the white color or the pink color when he gets hit. We're starting this coroutine right away. While true just means basically indefinitely do this over and over. So it waits between 1 and 6 seconds. It plays the attack animation, and then it waits a second after this. So he has some time in between when he puts his hand in the air and all the meteors appear. This spawns between 10 and 25 meteors. 10 and 24 meteors. And then this is the meteor that we made. So the meteor is just the rock from Blender with the slime attack effect put into the same game object, and then it's converted into a prefab by dragging it out of the scene. So like this is what the meteor actually looks like. So all it is the slime VFX from the last video that we did and a rock that we made in Blender, and the rock has like a really high metallic and a low. It's the exact same thing that we did with the island texture earlier in the video. So let's Control Z this and put this back together. When you're done and you have the meteor the way that you want it to, you can drag it from here and put it into the bottom as a prefab, and then you can delete it from the scene, and that's what we're passing into our boss script. So we're instantiating between 10 and 24 of these meteors, and they're between 100 and 300 above the ground, and they're taking the player's position, and they're doing between -70 and 70 on the X and the Z axis. So it's like only in a radius around where the player is. You could do it where it's like taking up the entire area, and you might want to do that if your computer is a lot better, but you would have to spawn way more meteors because you want it to be hard to dodge the meteors. Otherwise, it'll be too easy. The rotation of the rock doesn't matter because it's relatively round, and we're waiting 0.01 seconds in between each meteor being spawned. So they spawn staggered. They don't all happen at the same time. And this has a huge positive effect on performance by not doing them all at the same time. If you make them all at the same time, there's like a stutter that can happen if you do, especially if you do more than 25 of them. Like if you do like 100, your computer will lag. If you stagger them though, it actually makes it better performance. This just makes him walk towards the character. The reason we're adding forwards to the negative right, which is the left, is because I modeled the character incorrectly. I made this model over 2 years ago, so I don't remember. I don't want to go and change it right now. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow, but the front of him is not straight. The front of him is facing to the left. So that's why we have negative transform right. We're timesing it by 50,000 because we set the mass of the boss to be 250. So because the mass is so large, you have to use a huge number to actually make him move forward. And this could actually be even maybe a little bit faster so that he like actually starts catching up with you. So let's just change this to like 100. I don't know. We'll double the speed for right now. And so if you walk into the player, because our character has a collider that's a trigger on it. So if you walk into the player, it does the same thing that the meteor hitting him does. And this is covered in all of our previous videos as well. So this makes our character go flying backwards. And this makes our character take damage based on the damage that's inputted into the enemy script. So by default, that's 1, and the health starts as 3. So inside of our demon enemy on the right here, let's minimize everything except for the script. And so you can see we'll do 1 damage when we walk into him, and he has 100 health. So this is the same way that all of our enemies are working. So I don't think it's necessary to go through every single step of like the enemy script and we did those in previous videos. So like if you look up the enemy white flash effect, you can see how we do the damage. And if you look up the pushback, I think that's in like one of the very first episodes where we're finally handling an enemy. It might be the zombie video. It's a script that I got off of like, I don't know, some weird website, maybe Reddit or something. But all right, guys, that's going to be it for the day. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Like I said at the very beginning, this entire project is available for download in the description of the video for free, including this like demon boss guy. And you're welcome to use anything that you see in this in any way, in any of your stuff or whatever. Like I said, there's like a lot of stuff we still have to add, like the music and the changing of the level and the items and the devil and the angel and stuff. And there's like a lot more stuff. I'm probably going to do a lot of that off camera, and also like the lava when I'm walking over it right now. It should have a script attached to it as well that does damage and pushes the character back. But we just need to. This video is already going to be too long, and it just takes like. If I were to add all of that stuff, you're talking about like a 2 or 3 hour video, and I don't think that's going to get any views. So if you guys are enjoying the series, like I said, like the video and subscribe to the channel, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one.